Meet the athletes you love to hate. When a sporting event has the makings of a big group hug, an athlete you love to hate comes along with a smug smile you'd love to wipe off. Some of the hated fuel the fire with their looks, others with their loud mouths. Whatever the case, if they're not on your team, they're public enemy number one. They may be versed at dodging the vitriol, but they can never sidestep the truth. For centuries, America has had a morbid love affair with the outlaw. In the 1800s, notorious bandit Billy the Kid was a nightmare for law enforcers, yet lauded for his skills with guns. In the 1900s, gun-wielding gangster John Dillinger was a nationwide celebrity, despite his propensity for robbing banks. With the turn of the century, embattled NASCAR driver Kurt the Outlaw Busch has had a much harder time winning over the love. So after having had a series of blowouts with team members, race officials, and the media, he contacted a sports psychologist in 2011 to curb his aggressive tendencies. But the visits didn't entirely seem to work, and in 2014, he was accused of assaulting his then-girlfriend Patricia Driscoll inside his motorhome at a race. Busch defended himself in court by stating he believed she was a trained assassin.
I'm just glad that the truth got told and that we'll wait on the commissioner's decision.
Ultimately, the decision made was there was not enough evidence to bring criminal charges on domestic violence. But he was nonetheless suspended by NASCAR in 2015. Just like the heralded outlaws of the past, the 2004 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion works hard at his craft, even becoming just the fourth person to attempt a rare race double in 2014. That is, driving in both the Indy 500 and NASCAR's Coca-Cola 600 race on the same day.
Where's the roll cage? There's no protective topside, and that is one of the biggest differences that I will feel, that all drivers feel, the difference between open wheel and a stock car.
He gained a few admirers amongst the NASCAR ranks because of the feat, and some have even said he's mellowed a little. But rehabilitating his tarnished image won't be easy, because once an outlaw, always an outlaw. Coming up, grandly slamming your tennis opposition. When one thinks of the most hated players in men's tennis, generally one name comes to mind. The super brat, John McEnroe.
You cannot be serious!
Hitting the headlines just as much for his creative shot-making as for his steady slew of on-court outbursts, McEnroe was a nightmare for umpires and tennis authorities alike. But if you ask the players at the time who they hated the most, there may have been another name that would have taken top spot. The brash basher of Belleville, Jimmy Connors.
I'm trying for
Jimmy Connors was known for pandering to the crowd, one of his many grating attributes that he was proud of and that his colleagues hated. He was also known for his raging competitiveness, which was drilled into him by his mother Gloria, who acted as his coach. "Get those tiger juices flowing," she'd scream at her son during training sessions. And after witnessing his mother being savagely beaten by two thugs, leaving her with injuries she struggled with throughout life, Connors would use that horrible night as motivation to destroy his opponents.
Second match, Connors.
One of his greatest rivals, the late Arthur Ashe, admitted, if Connors was sometimes ill-mannered, brusque, and downright truculent, he seemed to have the approval of his mother, Gloria Connors. Considered the George Best of tennis for his off-court escapades, Connors eventually settled down with Playboy model Patty Maguire, but not before dating former Miss World Marjorie Wallace and being engaged to former tennis starlet Chris Evert when he was 21 and she was 19. Incidentally, Connors did nothing to help his bad boy image when he used his 2013 memoir to imply an unplanned pregnancy and abortion took place, which caused their breakup. Like most of the tennis world surprised with the outing, Evert was less than impressed. Nowadays, Connors can be seen coaching or even making the odd public appearance, but he has no regrets for the vulgarity he brought to the game. In the modern game, there is one man who is best equipped to carry the torch left by the likes of McEnroe and Connors. That man is Nick Kyrgios. The Canberra, Australia native has brought crazy back to the court, both in good ways and in bad. The good? Take Wimbledon 2014, when the fearless, outrageously talented kid toppled world #1 Rafael Nadal on center court to become the first debutante to make the quarterfinals in a decade. 2 years later, he won his first ATP title and cracked the top 20. But he's definitely burnt a few bridges along the way, courtesy of the space between his ears.
His mentality's got to catch up with all of his ability. He's got all the shots, but at times he goes astray.
Those times astray include the accusation of tanking, most notably in his fourth-round loss to Richard Gasquet at Wimbledon in 2015. He then followed that up by telling journalists that he didn't even like playing tennis. Comments quickly quashed by fellow Aussie tennis talent Thanasi Kokkinakis.
I think that's a bit of a lie. I think if you asked him when he beat Nadal if he liked tennis, I think he would have said he would have. It's just tennis players sometimes get moody.
Speaking of Kokkinakis, Kyrgios made few friends when, at the 2015 Rogers Cup, he was involved in a sledging incident with Stan Wawrinka, saying that his Aussie colleague slept with Stan's girlfriend. Kyrgios was fined 10 grand by the ATP and lost a lot of respect from his peers for the crass comment, with former tennis pro and Wawrinka's coach, Magnus Norman, posting on Twitter, "That was really, really low, Nick Kyrgios. Hope for you that you have people around that will teach you a thing or two about life tonight. Very bad." Kyrgios continued to march to the beat of his own drum, using Twitter to controversially pull himself out of the Australian tennis contingent heading to the 2016 Rio Olympics. But not before Australian chef de mission Kitty Chiller announced, "I think some of Nick's comments in social media in the past week shows he doesn't really understand what it means to be an Australian Olympian." And then he even dragged Novak Djokovic into his circus, after accusing umpires of double standards in how they treat the two.
By mentioning my name, I don't think it was necessary, but again, I gotta respect his choice.
Australian tennis and the tennis world in general would love to see Nick Kyrgios get his act together and use all that talent for good. And when he does lie low, many breathe a sigh of relief, hoping he'll come good on his potential, with fellow Aussie and tennis great Ken Rosewall saying, "There hasn't been much written about him lately, so I guess he must be improving." But until he can put together a string of victories, take home a few Grand Slams, and finally prove his worth, the most hated man in tennis today will always come with a warning label.
I think Kyrgios is pretty interesting. You know, he's got a great game. Mentally, I feel like he's a little fragile. goes a little bit up and down, but as far as talent and big game, big serve, I mean, he's the guy. You know, Kyrgios, if he got his head together, I mean, he really could be a top 5 player. But I worry about him mentally. I just feel like he's a little bit unstable up there.
Once upon a time, women's tennis was a genteel game where confidence and class went hand in hand. Nowadays, if you're confident, you let your opponent know it in the form of a grunt. This need to expel all that loud energy has tainted the game of many a tennis star. And leading the way on the grunting list is Maria Sharapova. Sharapova's grunting has been recorded to hit 101 decibels, or the same volume as a jackhammer, a power lawnmower, or a jet at takeoff. This shrieking has become such an integral part of her game, she claims she's been doing so since she was 4 years of age, that her colleagues have turned it into a bit of a joke. She's not the only lady who loves to be irritatingly loud on court. Fellow screamers include Agnieszka Radwanska, who has been recorded at 91.4 decibels, or the volume of a newspaper press. Serena Williams, who has nailed 88.9, or Food Blender. And Victoria Azarenka, who has reached 83.5 decibels, which is similar to a vacuum cleaner. But nobody beats Sharapova. In fact, it seems the only thing that will keep her quiet on the court is not being on the court at all. That, unfortunately, came to fruition in 2016, when she made this startling announcement.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here on such short notice. I wanted to let you know that a few days ago I received a letter from the ITF that I had failed a drug test at the Australian Open. I did fail the test, and I take full responsibility for it.
The drug in question was meldonium, which was only added to WADA's list of banned substances at the start of the year, after evidence proved it boosted blood flow and enhanced athletic performance. But although the International Tennis Federation suspended her for 2 years, Sharapova vows to be back, along with her signature grunt. After the break, North America's least liked athletes. To make it big in basketball, you need to have a lot of swagger. That smooth ability to rub people the wrong way. Wilt Chamberlain, he had swagger. Magic Johnson, he had swagger and then some. Kobe had so much swagger, he shot even when he shouldn't have. And Michael Jordan was so convinced that he was the greatest, he hypothetically should have shot it every time. Oftentimes, with that greatness comes a little envy and a lot of hatred. But there's no better way to crush your critics than by showing up big when the championship is on the line. Just ask LeBron James. Ever since LeBron entered the NBA straight from high school back in 2003, he's been rubbing people the wrong way. What do you expect? He went from prep to pro with a nickname he chose himself and refused to shake once he hit the league. The King.
I always believed that I was making the jump from high school to the NBA because I knew I can compete at the highest level. I knew I can compete with the men. And ever since I made the jump, I told myself, okay, now you have to start over. Just because you're the best high school basketball player in the world doesn't give you the right to think you're the best NBA player in the world.
But he quickly became just that. During his first stint with his hometown Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron was twice named NBA MVP. But unable to lead the Cavs to the coveted NBA title, he tested free agency in 2010, joining the Miami Heat. Standard procedure, if it wasn't for the fact of how it happened. For one, so sure he was of his greatness, he chose to make that announcement via The Decision, a 75-minute television special that featured a statement by the King soon ridiculed by everyone. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. With his talents packed in various suitcases, LeBron joined Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh in Miami, causing many to accuse him of not being able to win it all on his own. Michael Jordan said, "There's no way I would have ever called up Larry Bird, called up Magic Johnson and said, hey look, let's get together and play on one team. I was trying to beat those guys." Nonetheless, the super team scenario worked. James won 2 titles in 4 seasons with the Heat.
It's an unbelievable feeling, and I'm happy to be part of such a first-class organization.
But clearly, he wasn't happy enough. And in 2014, he returned home. Of course, not before ensuring Kyrie Irving was still in the fold and luring Kevin Love away from Minnesota to create a new Big Three.
I think it's an exciting time for myself. You know, it's a place that I'll, be home, be able to represent for the family and my friends and those fans.
LeBron then went on to make even fewer fans after essentially throwing coach David Blatt under a bus in the 2015 NBA Finals, wiping a play off the coach's clipboard and writing his own.
Now, I feel confident because I'm the best player in the world. That's simple.
Blatt was fired in 2016, and everyone thought LeBron drove the decision. And later that same season, he drove the Cavs all the way to the 2016 NBA title. Averaging 29.7 points, 11.3 rebounds, 8.9 assists, 2.3 blocks, and 2.6 steals per game in the finals, he became the first player in NBA history to lead both teams in all 5 statistical categories for a playoff round. He was named Finals MVP and proudly paraded the Larry O'Brien Trophy around his home state.
I promised when I came back 2 years ago that I had one mission from a basketball standpoint. I had one mission, and my one mission was to bring a championship back to Ohio, back to Cleveland, and back to Akron. And look up there, it's right there.
Haters call him a drama queen, a bully, money-hungry, and as big-headed as they come. But perhaps he's the most hated man in basketball because he's just so damn good. In the NFL, there are some players who are disliked because it seems they can do no wrong.
I feel like I've always played within the rules. I would never do anything to break the rules.
And then there are some who are disliked because it seems like they can do no right. One of those players is Richie Incognito, the burly offensive guard who was embroiled in a bullying scandal. Already considered one of the game's dirtiest players, Incognito was suspended 3 months for allegedly bullying former teammate Jonathan Martin while with the Miami Dolphins in 2013.
From what I've seen and from what I've experienced, I think that's why the confusion's there, because we haven't witnessed that or experienced the bullying at all.
That said, in the testosterone-filled world of the NFL, the line in the locker room between what is playful banter and bullying is hazy.
Locker room's a crazy place. It's a fun, crazy place, but it's a tough place, too, at the same time.
And then there's the curious case of linebacker Manti Te'o. In 2012, while at Notre Dame University, Te'o finished second in the running for the Heisman Trophy to Johnny Manziel, but he was first in the hearts of America and an inspiration to a nation. That's because Te'o became one of the most decorated college football players of all time, while playing through the pain of having lost both his grandmother and girlfriend on September 11th, 2012.
I try to just, relate to kids, and hopefully they can relate to me, and when they see me, it inspires them to be something great, and, I'll just For me, my whole thing is to giving kids hope that they can have dreams and that those dreams can come true.
And while his grandmother passed away in the family's native Hawaii, leukemia sufferer Lene Kekua died in a car crash. Or so we and apparently Te'o thought.
Well, we had to try and find any evidence or proof that she existed, and we worked with the information that we had from published reports. So we gathered up pretty much everything that had been published about Manti Te'o's girlfriend, and we immediately found that there were severe discrepancies in the story. We found in 5 different days that she allegedly had died, according to several different sources. We found different stories on whether or not she was a Stanford student or whether she had graduated. We found different stories on the time that they had spent together. There were so many conflicts in the reporting of the story, and then we tried to contact Stanford and see if she had ever been a student there. We called up all the funeral homes and mortuaries in Carson, California, where the AP had reported that she had died, and there was nothing. She was a ghost.
It turns out Kekua didn't exist, and the whole relationship was a hoax, contrived by Renaya Tuiasasobu, an acquaintance of Te'o, who apologized to all of America on the Dr. Phil show.
I can't express how sorry I am to all of it. People say, well, does he even have any feeling towards this? The truth is I hurt every day for the decisions I made. This has been, I can't even say that difficult or trying. None of those words describe how hard this has been. I'm sure for Manti's family, for the Notre Dame program, but also for my family.
So with Te'o off the hook, why do many Americans still look on him with disdain? Because he became aware of the lie when it had fully taken hold of the nation and couldn't find it in himself to pull the plug.
Even in January, when a reporter asked him about his girlfriend, when he now, according to the University of Notre Dame, knew that she wasn't real, and he didn't correct the reporter. So a lot of this weighs on Manti's head, even if he is completely innocent.
Still to come, Odium against the podium. One of the Olympic values set forth by Pierre de Coubertin is the most important thing in life is not the triumph, but the struggle. But juggling the joy of Olympic triumph with the struggle to find favor from fans is a tough task for some. Just ask these Americans. Swimmer Ryan Lochte won 11 Olympic medals, 5 of which were gold, and 18 world championships between 2004 and 2012. But his life out of the pool has turned off a lot of people. Lochte has become somewhat of a celebrity, having attended film premieres, walked the catwalk at fashion shows, and starred in TV shows. He even trademarked his own annoying catchphrase, which is Lochte's spin on the word yeah.
1, 2, 3, yeah!
Lochte also takes his fashion sense very seriously, with a vast collection of peculiar trainers, including ones with wings.
I don't know, they're different, and hopefully they give me wings tomorrow, because I'm gonna need them.
Since London 2012, Lochte has tried to clean up his clumsy dunce star act. However, he still comes out with some doozy comments for fans to shake their heads at, like the importance of his rivalry with Uber Olympian Michael Phelps.
He's my friend. There's no way around it. We've been swimming against each other since 2004, and our rivalry that we created is probably one of the best in sports history, I think.
We think not. Regardless, Ryan Lochte is one of the great Olympic swimmers and one of the Olympians people love to hate. Difficult women include Tonya Harding, who made headlines prior to the 1994 Winter Olympics, but for all the wrong reasons. The former American figure skating champion was banned for life by the US Figure Skating Association for her involvement in the attack of fellow skater and prime competitor Nancy Kerrigan. And whether it's failing a drug test for taking a diuretic just before the 2012 games, or making visits in court for allegedly hitting her own sister while intoxicated in a domestic violence case, polarizing American soccer goalkeeper Hope Solo's public image has taken a few knocks.
What's up, America?
The bad girl of women's soccer has lashed out at her coaches and playing colleagues alike, and did little to clean up her act when she appeared as a drunken guest on the Today Show after leading Team USA to gold at the 2008 Olympics. Sometimes the world can really be a tough crowd, and the more you open your mouth, the bigger the hole you dig for yourself. But the big target on the backs of those athletes you love to hate is ultimately there for a reason. Even if they've failed to stay on top for long, they've reached a certain level of success most of us have not. And that is the truth.